Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be the host today on Archery Talk 101. And today we have a special guest with us today, Christy Christensen, longtime friend. She also works at the Nebraska Game and Parks. And I'll introduce her in a couple seconds. We'll ask some questions and we'll get started. So welcome to the show, Christy. And tell us a little bit about how you got started in archery.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Roy. And I was kind of thinking how long we've known each other. And I think it's been at least like 95, something like that, when we met through Ohama, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. So, oh gosh, how did I get started? Well, um, it's not too complicated. My dad was an avid bow hunter, and he was also a taxidermist, and he worked from home. And so I just grew up around it. It was like something you couldn't really avoid. Um, and he bow hunted back in the day when that not a lot of people bow hunted at all. So I mean, it was a very small group of people that did that at the time. And so I kind of dabbled with it. I know I have a picture of me with my dad when I was about 3 or 4 years old, shooting a bow in a friend's basement. And so I did that, and then kind of dabbled with it off and on. And I actually taught archery when I was a Girl Scout counselor every summer when I was in high school. And we were just using the little recurves and things like that. And so I actually did that. But it wasn't until I don't even remember how old I was at the time, but it was well on 30 years ago. And I had been rifle hunting. We deer hunted. I really fell in love with it. And then some family members decided we were going to start bow hunting. And really the reason I started was I didn't want to get left at home again. Like they're going to go out, go hunting. And it's like, no, 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 I'm going to get a bow and I'm going to start going because I don't want to miss out on being out. That only getting to hunt 10 days out of the year was not enough for me. And so I decided to start shooting, and just fell in love with it, fell in love with the challenge. It was just that being up in a tree stand, having things very, very close, and then got into competition. And that's when I met you, was through a Hamo, and we're shooting 3D shoots almost every weekend. And slowly just added in all our family members, and the kids were shooting, we were all shooting, and it was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got my kids into it as well. All my kids went through starting off with a little bitty 5-pound uh, compound bow that pretty much wore out by the time I went through 3 kids, the 2 of them I had, and they would go shooting. I know when I had my store, my youngest son, he would spend hours shooting in the range. He'd just go there and shoot for hours, and it was a lot of fun for him.
I was it Yeah, those are great memories, and I really enjoy it. Now I have some granddaughters who I've already bought. My 5-year-old granddaughter, when she turned 5, she got a new bow, and I've got to get her out in the field and start shooting with her. And I know I'm going to have several more hopefully follow in her footsteps as well. And my oldest son is really the one who's really took off, and he does a lot of shooting, a lot of hunting. So most of the summer he spends, at least 1 or 2 a month that he'll do a bow shoot. And then it's been hunting really hard and heavy with it. So, and my husband as well. So he and I have been hunting together. Matter of fact, he had never really shot a bow until he met me, and hadn't hunted with a bow. He did some upland bird hunting, but that was about it. And then when I met, I was actively, competing then. And he just wanted to try it out. He says, well, let me shoot your bow. And I gave it to him. Second shot, he just drilled whatever he was aiming at. And I just said, give me back my bow. And and not too long afterwards, he had a bow in his hand, and we were hunting together. And we've been married 25 years and been hunting together ever since. So that's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad that he joined me on that journey.
Yeah, that makes it a lot nicer when both of you can get in there and do something like that together. And it's a good thing to learn. It's a good skill to learn, something you can learn as a kid, and it's lifetime skill that you might get a little rusty at it, but you don't forget it.
Exactly. And I think that's the best thing. I talk about that a lot when I talk to people who are just starting out hunting or fishing or any of those things. And I always say that you can sit in a stand and watch your children play football or softball or whatever, and you can be in the stands and watch them. But the really cool thing about hunting is I can sit in a tree stand with my child and hunt with them. And so I'm actively participating with them on their journey. And I always thought that was a kind of a unique way to look at it. It's like, I get to participate with them. And I think that part's really cool.
Yeah, I know, kind of like the old statements, if you hunt with your kids, you don't have to hunt for your kids because you know where they're at.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true. And I know, and I always laugh about like the life
Right.
skill, the lifetime skill, because I hope I can do this for the rest of my life. But you learn things in school and sports and things that you won't do for a lifetime. I mean, I've never ever had a rope in my garage where I felt like I needed to climb it. I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, I couldn't do it very good when I was in school, so
Me
I sure
neither.
can't do it now.
Definitely not. Definitely not. So, and then I know I was looking at some questions about how I got started with my career. Prior to working for Game and Parks, I actually worked for the city of Papillion, and I worked there for 26 years. Started there when I was 12. I think that's how old I was. And I worked in the water distribution maintenance and did just a very unusual job really for a woman. Not a lot of women worked in that field. But I got involved with the Women in the Outdoors program and becoming an outdoors woman because I didn't know any other women that hunted. I'll take that back. I knew two. And one of the gals that I knew was actually in her 70s and she bow hunted. And other than that, there wasn't a lot of women out there at the time. Again, I'm talking 30 years ago, plus years ago when I started, there just weren't that many women that did that. There was a couple in Iowa, and I'm sure you knew them. Mick and Elaine Brown had their own bow shop over in Council Bluffs. And I was asked by Elaine if I could assist her with teaching an archery class at one of those events. And I was just thrilled because that year prior to that, I had wanted to go to one of these events for years. I had wanted to go and never had the opportunity to go. And the first opportunity I had to go to one, I went. And it was funny because in my brain, I went to this event thinking all these women I was going to meet all these hunters. And I got there, and this was in Iowa. It was a winter bow. So we did a lot of winter type activities, snowshoeing and ice fishing and snowmobiling and things like that. But I also took a predator hunting class. And again, I thought I was going to meet all these women hunters, and I only met like 3 women who hunted. And I couldn't figure out why all these other women were there. And by the end of the weekend, I kind of figured it out. It was about that empowerment and wanting to do something on their own and to learn about it. Because it may not be hunting, but it just the whole fact of that outdoors and doing things and experiencing things together as a group. And the other thing that I found out is so many women were like, I want to learn how to do this, but I don't want my husband to teach me. Because we're all always patient people, with a relative, sometimes you learn so much better from someone else. And so I attended that one. I signed up for another one in the fall. And then in the meantime, I taught that class, and it lit a fire in me that I just went, I know what I want to do. And whether it was for a career, really at the time it wasn't. It was, I just want to get involved because I want those women to find that outlet, what I was looking for. And when I teach classes, I tell them, I used to be you. I was that person that was just learning and didn't know anything. And so I met up with some folks with the Omaha Longbeards. So that was the National Archery Federation, and it was the Omaha chapter. I was at a sports show, and I walked up to the guys in charge and I said, "Do you have a Women in the Outdoors program?" And the gentleman I talked to said, "No, we don't, but we would like to." And I just stuck out my hand and said, "Well, I'm it." And he's like, "Okay." And so that was in 2000, and we did our very first event. Well, I guess that was 1999, and then we did our very first event in 2000, and was the first event in Nebraska. And then after that, we were off and running, and we started it in Omaha. And then we had, at one time, it had like 8 or 9 events in one year all over the state. And so that was really fun. So I got all of that experience putting these events on and doing this. And it was just so awesome because I met so many amazing people all over. And then I got an opportunity at work to go to college. And it just was like, "Hey, why don't you, they were reimbursing you for going to school." And what I was doing. So I ended up getting a degree in communications, because at that time I did a lot of customer service for the city. And I don't know, it was just kind of a funny thing how it all happened. But not too long after I graduated, I found out about this job with Game and Parks. And the job was, we had just built a new, or we're in the process of building a shooting range at Platte River State Park. And they were looking for an outdoor education specialist to get that up and running, and then do outdoor education skills. And I was checked all the boxes, and I just stepped right into it. They hired me, and I've been here for 12 years now and doing programs. And now all that stuff that I did as a volunteer, I get to do full-time career now. So it is really took me full circle, and I couldn't be more blessed to have the job and to be able to do what I do.
Yeah, that's always nice when you do something that you enjoy doing. It's not really a job because you enjoy doing it, whether you're getting paid or not. The benefit is you get paid.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we always laugh about, be careful what you wish for, because then sometimes you're so busy teaching other people that you're like, I don't have time to do it for myself. So you have to make sure you carve out that time to make sure that you get to do it. And but my skills base has just exploded, not just from archery, because now I'm a firearms instructor in shotgun and rifle and handguns. I'm a range safety officer. Actually, I'm a chief range safety officer, so I can train others to be a range safety officer. So I have all those NRA certifications. I have my concealed carry now. I'm also a certified paddle sports facilitator and a kayak instructor. So I did that, and I've really ramped up my Dutch oven cooking skills. So apparently I'm in pretty high demand now to teach Dutch oven cooking. I actually did an event on Monday for a group of kids with the Easter seals, and they were doing a camp, and I came out, and so the kids got to put their hands in and make a meal. And so just I'm busy. I'm busy. So doing coaching classes with archery, we started that at the Outdoor Ed Center in Lincoln. And so on Monday nights in the fall, when things kind of slow down with some of our other programs, every Monday night, I think we did this for like 4 months. I think we started in October or November. It was November. So November, December, January, and February, every Monday night I had an archery coaching class. And what was nice about that class is a lot like what you do, Roy. Those folks who have their own equipment and they're kind of stuck and just need somebody to watch them shoot, give them some tips. And I just found that so much fun, because sometimes it's those little tiny little tips that you give them. And a lot of it I'll catch like, well, I need you to bring your head forward, put your, nose on the string, teaching them about follow through and not, you let go and I'm looking at where I shot the target. That's a big one. People like to lift their head and say, where did I shoot? Well, you're not done shooting yet. You're not done shooting until that arrow hits that target. Do not try to find it. And just little things that you would just add, anchor points, huge anchor point issue. How I used to shoot back then, and someone I don't even remember who it was that taught us a different style of anchor point, and that just changed everything, even for us, that we were learning. And so just those little bitty tips, and you give them to them little bites at a time. And it's hard not to throw everything at them at once, but it's like, okay, today we're just going to do this, and then we'll come back. And then even teaching the differences between how to shoot a recurve, your stance and everything is so much different than shooting a compound. And folks were like, oh, well, I keep hitting my arm, or I keep doing this. And it's like, well, because you have to stand this way for this style, and you have to do it this way for this style. So there's a big difference. And once you get that dialed in, and those people they get that aha moment, like, oh my gosh, just that little thing changed so much in how I shoot. And I just think that's great, but it takes people like us, to be able to do that, because a lot of people don't know that, wow, I can find someone to show me how to do that. And I think what you're doing is absolutely fabulous, because it's, most people are just, I don't know where to go. I have all this equipment and I don't know how to work on my bow. I don't know where to go. And again, we have so many turnover in some of the stores that you never know if you're going to get a professional, or is it just some guy who works in the other department and he's filling in today. I want to make sure I have a professional that I'm working with that knows what they're talking about and not steering me the wrong way.
Yeah, I know. It's always nice when you take somebody that not shooting very well, and you get them fixed up in a short period of time. I know one time when I was working at Bass Pro, this guy come in and struggling with it, and he had I think we had a 20-yard range, and he was grouping maybe 8-inch groups. I spent 45 minutes. Now he had 1 and 2-inch groups.
Yeah.
One thing, the draw length was too long and shooting all wrong. So he shortened his draw length, fixed his form. It's like, damn, he's nailing them. And
yeah,
it's always nice when, I know one time when I was at Cabela's, they had one of the bows that they said, well, we got to recall him because nobody's getting him set up right. We set it up for me. I took 2 shots, stuck 2 arrows together. John picked it up, shot 1-inch circles, 6 of them, hit 5 of the 6. We set up for another guy. He set up for like 3 people besides me, all just fine. And we had 2 more. And we said, well, let's set those up, see if there's really a problem, or if it's just the people that don't know what they're doing, but they won't let us do it. So we had nothing wrong because we knew how to set them up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it takes. And then the sad thing, and I do have a story one time, and I get a little nosy sometimes, you try not to avoid it, but it's hard. I was in one of the box stores that no longer sells any of this stuff anymore. But I'm in the box store. It's around Christmas time, and a gentleman came in and he talked to the person working there, and he said, hey, my son has a bow and I want to buy him arrows for Christmas. And the first thing out of the person that were the employee said, well, how big is your son? That was the question. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? And he ended up selling him this, these arrows and the whole thing. And the guy's walking out, and I just couldn't help myself. I followed the guy through the store. And I said, sir, you really don't want to buy those arrows. And I just told him, I said, and I explained to him why and what. I said, if you want to buy him arrows, then you give him a gift card for him to purchase arrows, and you have him bring his bow to the store so they can match, what he's shooting, his draw length, his weight. And I'm explaining this all to the guy. The guy's looking at me like, oh my gosh, I didn't know there was so much to, that you need to know all of that. And I just kind of laughed and I said, I just couldn't let you walk out of the door with those arrows. And they weren't cut, they weren't inserted, they weren't, and they were aluminum. And I'm just going, oh yeah, you have no idea what you're talking about. So it's kind of hard.
Yeah, well, it could be the wrong spine. They could break. Not having inserted it, may not even know they're supposed to have one in there and shoot it.
Right.
It's not going to last. He's going to wreck the arrows his first shot if you don't have a tip in there.
God forbid he blow up his bow, in the process.
Yeah.
So
because you need that weight of that tip.
Yeah. And so I just had to, like, oh my gosh, I just can't let this happen.
No.
So,
well, not only is it getting the wrong stuff, but it could be a safety issue too.
Yeah.
And then, you're actually protecting the store, because if something would have happened, come in, well, this is what you told me needed. And they sold the wrong stuff. And,
yes,
so, it can be a dangerous sport if you don't pay attention to what you're doing. The biggest thing I see is people come out and smacking their arm, with a compound bow. So, hey, drawing's too long. If you're hitting your arm, unless you do it on purpose, your drawing's too long because you got it stretched out doing it. Your grip's wrong, your arm's wrong, all kinds of stuff. So we just, that's what, I started this podcast to help teach people, stuff. So I go through, I've had ones on what do you do when you get to the store? And that's something I want to go and it's, what does a new archer want to look at? Brand new, never had a bow in his hand, gets to the store. What should he know going to the store, and what should he look for once he gets there with the person selling it?
Yeah, and that can be such a tough thing, because usually, and I tell people, if the first thing out of that employee's mouth is you need this bow, you need to shoot this, well, then he doesn't care what you shoot. He just is trying to sell you something. And so that's one of the things I tell them to look out for. It's difficult to just walk into a store and then know. You need to be able to spend the time in there, because usually when they're busy, they've got 10 other people in there. There's one person working in there in the shop to help adjust things. If they don't have that kind of time to spend with you, you could walk out of there being set up completely wrong. And I don't know how many times people have come to our house with their new equipment and we went, where did you get this? And who set you up? Because it didn't fit. It's not, nothing about it was correct. And so that can be the hard thing. I guess my big suggestion would be to go with someone who is experienced as an archer. Find a friend who is to help you out, and then at least start with those basics on that. Like, here, hand them a Genesis bow, just so they can learn how to actually shoot, instead of throwing in this $1,000 compound bow in their hand and expecting them to know what to do and what to look for. And I think you need to start small and then work your way up. Doesn't mean you have to buy a cheap, introductory bow, but you need to learn to shoot first. And I think that's key. And if you can find a place, like game and parks, like we have places that you can go and learn how to shoot and kind of get that feel, take a class, those type of things. I think that's a better way to start. And it doesn't mean, again, it's hard to find those. So something like your podcast is a great way for people to start.
Yeah. And some of the first questions I always like to ask them is, what type of archery you're looking at? You're looking at recurves, you're looking at compounds, and what do you want to do with it?
Right.
Are you intending to hunt? Do you want to just shoot target or just for fun? I need to know what you're trying to do with it so I can have some idea where to direct them. And
correct.
When I had my store, I pushed new archers into the ready to shoot packages, the low end ones. Like when I was doing the Nova range, they don't make those anymore, but this is the low end bow, in your $500 range now, because it gets you ready to go. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know the difference between them. And, I go to stabilizers. Well, put on this cheap stabilizer and shoot it. An expensive one. Can't tell the difference? Buy the cheap one.
Yeah,
Later on, you'll notice the difference, but right now
sure.
you don't know the difference. So buy the cheaper stuff, and it's still good stuff. I know people that have shot those for years,
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yeah.
you know,
Oh, and one of the other things that I have told people, and I found this in a lot of equipment, especially like shoes. Okay, I'm going to throw boots out there. You buy something like a pair of boots, a good pair of boots. Those things are going to last you 10 years. They are. I mean, I know I have shoes older than my kids that I still have, but don't let $50 stop you from buying a better piece of equipment. Because if I only spend $20 on a pair of shoes or a pair of boots, they're only going to last me a year. If I spend an extra $50, those boots may last me 5 to 10 years. And I look at that way with the same thing with the bow. You have this and it's like, well, this is okay, but this bow is like $20 more, but it's going to give you all these extra features depending on what you're planning on doing. If you're just playing around, plinking around the backyard, shooting for fun with your family, then that $50 isn't that big of a deal. You can buy the lower end one. But if you want something, you're going to hunt, you're going to do this, it's worth spending just a little bit more money to give you that a little more of a performance. But I love the grow with you bows, the ones that are easy to adjust, because especially with kids, and I work with adults mostly adult women, and we talk about the grow with you bows, and I said, well, you're not going to get taller. That's not the issue. The issue is building up that muscle and building up that muscle memory. Yeah, maybe you can only pull. I had a young gal in my coaching classes, and she started out, she couldn't pull more than literally 18 pounds is all she could muster. And by the end of those 4 months, we had her, and of course I would tweak it. We get done shooting and I would put like a quarter of a turn, and we kept building up all the way through. She never even noticed. I said, and we won't do it until at the end of the day. We threw on, and maybe it was 1 pound. That was it. But by the end of that 4 months, she was shooting 40 pounds and she was ready to hunt. And all she cared about was hunting turkeys. That was her goal. She wanted to shoot turkeys with her bow. And, by the end of the season, boy, I didn't even hardly have to work with her that last month, because she was hitting paper. She was being consistent and really enjoying it. And and she did, she got a nice bow. It was easy to work on, very easy to adjust. And so that was always nice, because you can just keep tweaking it, and she's ready. She's ready to walk out the door. But with that said, so many people think I buy a bow, much like if I buy a rifle, I'm going to go sight it in and I'm done. I'm good. Well, that's not the case with archery.
No.
And you know that it's constant. It's always, you can't just pick it up once a year and expect to be on like you can. You sight in a rifle, you get it set, you put it in your case, you're ready to go hunt. Not with a bow. You really have to continue to practice and keep your skills up, because it's easy to pick one up and then go, wow, I haven't shot in a while. I'm rusty. I'm sore after shooting, all of those things. So it's important to keep practicing.
Yeah, it is. That's the fun part, because shooting a bow, you get to reuse your ammo over and over and over.
Yes.
Once you get good enough to hit your target, especially not the carbon arrows, they last a long time.
They do.
I remember when I was shooting aluminums every year, I'd have to get a new set because they wouldn't group anymore.
No. And then we've got our little straightener thing. We're trying to straighten everything out. And I always tell people that when it comes to like carbon and aluminum, and I always say they're either straight or they're bent. And with carbon, they're either perfect or they're broken. So It's kind of like, I would rather go with, obviously it's broken, instead of trying to work, like, why is this arrow not going and shooting the way it should? And because it's bent, so it doesn't work that well. But the carbons are, they're great. They last a long time, and they are a good, much better use of material.
Right. And then too, there's a little difference between the straightness tolerances. Um, I know when I had my store, PSE come out with their hunter shafts, which was a 7,000 straightness. And I says, let me try them and see, how they go. I was able to get them to group basically in the 5 spot. I could get them to group in there, where the comp ones, which is a 1,000s,
Uh-huh.
I could routinely get them in the X ring. Now, and that's the difference between a 1 and a 7,000s straightness. And I always hunt with the straightest ones I can get, because you put a broadhead on it, and I want the best shot I can. I'd rather target hunt with a lesser arrow than than hunting with one, because I want to know that I'm going to hit that spot.
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, and that's a huge thing, because if you get one, and we'll go in and mark the arrows, put a number 1 on one and number 2, so that way while you're shooting, it's like, that number 3 arrow never seems to land where I want it to land, and then at least you know that you have an issue with that arrow.
Yeah, I actually did a podcast on that exact thing.
Did you?
Yeah. I try to go through and pick things that they're going to be worried about, concerned about, any from shooting in the rain, shooting in the wind. I just try and cover everything that a new archer would want to learn or need in this podcast. And that's why it's nice having you on here, because you have a lot of experience, and there's just so much that we can learn from each person. We all have coaches.
Oh yeah.
You're a coach, but yet you still have a coach.
Oh, definitely.
Because it's hard to
Definitely.
see, it's hard to fix your own problems. And nice thing now with the videos, you can play them back, and it's like, oh man, I need to work on that.
Yeah.
You walk in the video and you watch your own, it's like, I'm doing that. But it's hard to look at yourself and do it in. And it's always nice to have somebody else look at it. That's why, we all need a coach.
Yeah.
Every athlete has a coach, no matter what level they are. You get your top sports athlete, they have a coach.
Yes.
Because you can't do it on your own. You got to get somebody. You need to get some help. And I know what you're doing there is helping out a lot of kids and adults.
Mhm.
I don't know any other states where they're doing some programs like that, but somebody that's out of state, would they be able to come in and join in
Oh yeah.
in your programs?
Yeah, absolutely. It's open to anybody. We focus on the women's classes, at least we do with it, but we try really hard to do. We have a lot of youth programs too, especially at the Outdoor Ed Center in Lincoln. And then we travel around. Our big thing is try to get that spark lit, and then hopefully we can get them into doing these programs. But we need more of me out there. Need a lot more of me out there, because it's hard to do. I would love to do it more and more, but we need the facilities and we need the staff. We're struggling this year with our staff out at the shooting ranges. So we've had to reduce our time, but we have been focusing a lot with our naturalist programs across the state. So now you can go to Shadron State Park, and they've got an archery range, and they're open to the public, and they do programs there. Ponca State Park has a really phenomenal shooting range area, and but it's when they have their programs and they're open and they're teaching. I know we're trying to really focus on the center of the state, Grand Island, Kearney, that area. We don't have a lot of things in that area. We do have, Grand Island's got the big Heartland Shooting Park, and that's run by the city. And I do know that they have quite a bit of programs. I don't know what all that they offer, but we're building ranges across the state, so people have places to go, places to shoot. And so that's been a big mission of ours, is to get that out there. But getting that one-on-one introductory classes, we're trying really hard to increase those programs.
Yeah. Now, if they wanted to get a hold of you, how would somebody get a hold of you?
Oh, they can email me. So it's Christy, CHRISTY .Christensen, and that's CHRISTIANSEN at Nebraska, and that's spelled out .gov. So that's the email. And they can always call. It's 402-471-5547.
Okay, I'll put a link in the description so they can just click on that and go to email you,
Yep.
and I'll put your phone number in there as well.
There you go.
So that
And
any
another,
needs can fit.
yeah, and another way they can find some of our programs, especially our Becoming an Outdoors Woman. We have a Facebook page, and it's Becoming an Outdoors Woman Nebraska. And then once you pull up that page, you just look at the events, and it'll show all the events that we're having. We do our big annual event in October, and that's a 3-day weekend. We flip-flop between Ponca State Park and Fort Robb. I know the Ponca one filled up like in March. So, and we're talking about 100 women that attend that event. So it's very popular. And then we started doing the Beyond Becoming an Outdoors Woman, and the Beyonds, what they are, they're usually a one subject, 1-day event. So I do a summer shooting series out at Platte River State Park, and we start that in May. We do 3 weeks of archery, then 3 weeks of handguns, and then 3 weeks of shotguns. And so tonight is the start of our shotgun class. And then we'll start this again, and then we'll start offering some of those classes out at the Outdoor Ed Center in Lincoln. But almost every week there are classes, archery classes there for kids, for adults, and just women's classes as well. So there's lots of opportunities out there. And that one is located on 44th and Superior in Lincoln.
Okay. Yeah, I think I looked it up, Becoming an Outdoor Woman group. I got some ladies in kayaks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put a link to that group in the description as well. Make it a little easier for people to find.
There you go.
To get here, just try and get people involved in this. And I know it's a good program, and anybody that's interested, definitely check it out. And if you're not around the Nebraska area, then check with your local game and parks or DNR or whoever handles that stuff. They may have a program, and if they don't, have them get a hold of Christy. Start one.
We'll start one.
Yeah, we'll start one.
We're working on it. We're trying to get to meet more. And I know, like I said, that we're kind of focusing on that Kearney, central Nebraska area, because there just really isn't a whole lot. I know we have one of our colleagues is out at North Platte, and she just got hooked up with a skills trailer. So she's getting more equipment out there and doing programs. And so we're really focusing on these because there's just not enough. People are always looking for that education and learning how to do things. And then the other way that you can find it is join a shooting club. Join, clubs like Golden Arrow, that's out in Omaha, and Prairie Bowman is in Lincoln, and there's archery clubs all over the state. And most of the people who are in those clubs are so willing to teach and pass on their experience and their knowledge as well, because we want to see the sport continue to grow, because it's such a fun thing to do. And you can go from very, very primitive to all the way up to, whatever level you want to be at. I think that's fantastic. I would love to literally shoot a recurve a lot, but that takes a lot of, you want to talk about getting in the weeds and very primitive and a lot of practice, a lot of technique. It's not an easy thing to be a really good recurve shooter. And when I meet those folks that are good at that, and of course they tease us that shoot, training wheels on our bows. So, but it's like, I'm accurate and I'm pretty good at it. I'm going to stick with that because I don't have the time or the dedication for, doing that primitive shooting, but it would be a whole lot of fun. So I am going on a bow fishing trip next week. So a week from yesterday, I guess. Yeah, a week. Yeah. So next Tuesday, I'm going to be on a boat, boat fishing, and I am so excited. I haven't done it in a long time, and we're going to go up by on the dam there at Gavin's Point Dam, and I'm going to be shooting some fish. So I'm excited about that. I cannot wait to get out there.
Yeah, I haven't done bow fishing in a while. I use a recurve for bow fishing, just because when I get a compound in my hand, I go back anchor points, kiss your butt and peep, sights. I can't do that bow fishing. And when I get a recurve in my hand, I look at the target, instinctively shoot it, draw back and shoot.
Yep.
But I just can't transition that mentality into the compound. It's a different weapon. I shoot them differently. Different mindset. When I pick up one bow, my mindset's one way. Just like when you pick up a handgun or a rifle or a shotgun, they're all shot differently.
They are.
So, there's different techniques, just like a recurve and a longbow and a compound are all different. Even crossbows, a little bit different on that. Like you say, the traditional archers, thing, we had training wheels, and then a lot of the compounds like, well, you're cheating using a crossbow. And I says, my definition of archery is a stick with a string flinging another stick. Does it fit that category? It's archery.
It's archery. Yep. That's
archery.
Yep. And I tell people, you know what, you do you do what you works for you and what you want to do. I don't want to ever get into that a big argument about, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this. You know what, if you're out there and you're shooting and you are respecting the sport, and as well as respecting the animals that you go after, to me, that's fantastic. And again, I agree with you. If it's a stick, a string, and it's shooting a stick, you're shooting archery in whatever form you have to be doing, And I mean, my little boy, when he was 3 years, one of my boys, but the one, he'd come to the 3D shoots when he was 3, and he's shooting this little Nerf bow and standing like 10 feet in front of the target. He was so thrilled to hit that target, that's all he cared about. And so we had just a little Nerf bow that he was using, but it's funny to watch them shoot now and having kids of their own. And so that's a pretty neat thing. And it's nice to know that you had that influence on them and grew up to do that.
Yeah, I know when I was going to 3D shoots, my kids, they were shooting like a 5-pound bow, and it wouldn't stick in a lot of targets. So if it's stuck in a target, in the 8 ring, 10 ring, wherever it is, they got that point. But if they hit it and bounced off, I still give them 5 points.
Oh yeah,
because they hit the target. You can't help it. And they would get up close enough that they could hit the target. I didn't care where the sticks was, as long as they're close enough to hit the target. 2 reasons. One, so they hit it, and the second reason is I have to go look for arrows.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's been nice talking to you. I know there's a lot of good information that I know everybody that's listening is going to get out of this, and I just wanted to thank you for being on the show.
Oh no, I appreciate you having me, and I'm excited about your thing. I just signed up for your Facebook page, so I'm on. I'm going to be following that, and I'll be passing that along to some of the graduates from my program, when they're get done. I know the last archery class that I had 2 people that bought bows, and almost every class that I have, somebody is purchasing a bow and getting started. And the one gal, she's so excited. And I ran into them, and they were like, yeah, we got a new bow. And so she goes, we'll be back. And they actually live in the Lincoln area. So she's going to be doing my coaching classes coming up. Okay. And I know they're still doing them now. We have Curtis Snyder. And I'm sure, do you know Curtis? He's in the Lincoln area, so you might not, but.
Yeah, I've probably met him because I've met a lot of archers if they've been around for a while.
Yeah, Curtis was a big crossbow shooter there for a while. I know he was a rep for one of the crossbow companies for quite a while, and I'm sure we probably met him at some of those, but he works at the Outdoor Ed Center, and we get a lot of retired folks that work there that have been shooting for a long, long time. And boy, those people are gems to have to come and work. You know, it's like, what a great job to retire and just like, oh, I'm just gonna hang out at the archery range and teach people how to shoot. And it's great to have someone like that. But he's an expert and very, very good at what he does. And so anytime, you know, you have your own equipment, you get ready to buy it, go there and take some classes. So
Yeah, it's always nice to be able to be personally one-on-one, you know, actually physically there. But what I found is right now, a lot of people don't have anything access to them quickly.
right.
You know, they might be 3 hours from their closest archery shop. And that's why I started my online coaching program associated with the Facebook group.
Mhm.
Um, you know, so we can teach you. And I have them set up so that you're going to record yourself shooting and upload the video to me, and I'll review it. And then on our live call, we'll actually be one-on-one, and we can actually help you out and actually watch you shoot. And, you know, it's not as good as being there, but it's the next best thing, especially with gas prices. Yeah, you don't have to drive nowhere.
Exactly.
Just set up a target in your basement.
Yep. Yep. I'm just glad I have a place to shoot at home. So that makes it nice.
Yeah, I got a target set up outside I shoot at, and then I also have one in my basement when I was doing some of my videos down there, because it's windy and rainy. I'm not shooting outside if I don't have to.
Well, you know, you
So
don't live too far from us. So if you need some place
yeah,
to do some shoot further than 20 yards, you can come over. You have an open invitation.
okay. I'll have to take you up on that one of these days, and we'll get
Okay.
together and do some shooting and do some videos too.
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Okay. I'll put some links into the description as well for the archery group, the Archery Talk 101 group in there, so you can join that group real easy.
Okay.
And then I'll put a link in the description for the archerytalk101.com site. That one I use for, I upload all my videos, the podcasts will go there, any videos I create go up there, as well as any products that I might have to review or I use in any of my videos. I'll put links so you can go out and buy them. It's a, you know, buy them on Amazon. It's an affiliate link, so I do make a little bit off it, but it helps you save a little bit of time finding the parts that, because I've kind of went through some of them. I know what's good and what's not.
Yeah,
And then don't forget, you know, to sign up and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these nice little things here. So
I will do that.
yeah, and watch them. And I have them posted out to Spotify as well as several other different places. So you can just go there if you have a Spotify account and look them there. And I'll leave a link to the Spotify page of my podcasts, so you can make it easier to find them there.
All right.
And once again, I'd like to thank you, Christy, for being on this show. My name is Roy Canterbury, if you didn't remember, and I've been the host here on Archery Talk 101 with my good friend, Christy. So thanks for listening or watching, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.